Cartoonist, screenwriter, humorist, author, playwright, satirist. There are but a few of the ways to describe my next guest. His latest book is a collection of cartoons that chronicle an era in American politics and urban life, stretching from Eisenhower to Reagan. Here's Jules Feiffer. Welcome.
Thank you.
This is fantastic. I might say.
It took 26 and a half years to get there, but...
That long you worked on it?
Well, I started the cartoon in the Village Voice in October of 1956, so it's coming up to an anniversary. And I've been doing it once a week since then, you know, and a couple of other things in between.
Is this a funny time for politics right now? With this economy, nothing's very funny.
Well, it's funny, scary. I mean, Ronald Reagan is the first true believer we've ever had in the White House. We've never had a really radical president, unless Woodrow Wilson was, in a sense, a true believer. But Reagan is somebody who comes along, who spouts a particular kind of politics, and we assume, being cynical about our politicians over the years, that once they get in office, they'll sell out their own beliefs. And Reagan has tried not to. So he's put into effect his own beliefs, and therefore we're all collapsing. And for a cartoonist, it's a peculiar position because what's good for us is rotten for the country. So, you know, I and all my friends are laughing and chortling and having a hell of a time, and the country's going down the drain. You know, if I ever got a president I liked, I'd be out of business.
But these are, you know, characters you've developed, but when did you start to include real-life politicians in your work?
Well, when I began the cartoon in the late 50s, I intended it really to be a comment on my class, my generation, you know, on the humor that represented something to us then, because at that time, we weren't being represented. I turned on television, and there was Bob Hope and Red Skelton, very funny men, but they had nothing to say to the young, urban, college-educated, or soon-to-be college-educated class that was beginning to move into positions of authority in the country. And more than anything else, because nobody was speaking to me in terms of my own needs, anxieties, neuroses, whatever, I began doing this stuff, and along at the same time, within a year or two, other people started, so a whole generation of young humorists started talking about the same thing.
Was Lenny Bruce the forerunner?
Lenny came a little later. Actually, it was Mort Saul, Mike Nichols, and Elaine
Lenny
May.
was before Mort.
No, he wasn't.
Really?
Yes, he came after.
I was seeing Lenny Bruce around Chicago long before I knew about Mort Saul.
Well, maybe I just knew about it later, but I knew about Mort earlier.
You've written a few shows based on your cartoons. Why does dialogue of your strip lend itself so well to live theater?
Well, I think it does and it doesn't. I did in Chicago in the early 60s a show called The Explainers based on the cartoons, and people told me it worked very well. I didn't like it very much. So I then decided that if I ever let stuff go on the stage, I would write a play. I mean, do a beginning, a middle, and an end, and a plot, and do stuff like that. And found that when I started writing for theater, it was as much fun, as much pleasure, as much excitement as working on the cartoon, but it is a different form. It has different demands.
You do so many things. What do you do best?
Well, I love doing the cartoon because first of all, I have to do one a week, which means I have to come up with an idea once a week. That gets me out of bed in the morning. Otherwise, I just sit around and lie around and not do anything that was responsible or meant anything. But for long-range things, to dig into the subject, to go into it more deeply, I love working in theater. And occasionally I love doing movies. I like it all. I like it all, because one thing leads into another, and they're all connected in some way.
Have you done anything lately on the fast food thing, the fast food chains that hit each other's throats? I see a lot of humor in that.
Well, you know, we're a fast food country. That's scary. You know, our politics, we want fast foods, we want fast cars, we want fast solutions to our problems. You know, and then we're now in a fast depression. And you know,
I hope it's very fast. It sweeps right out of here.
And Ronald Reagan's going to be a very fast president. You know, in 15 minutes he'll be gone. You know, I mean, that's why we're having one-term presidents, because we don't have the patience. You know, everything has taken on, the entire country has taken on the semblance of a TV season. You know, we have mid-season changes, and
that's right. That's right.
It's why don't we into reruns?
We're in a rerun. What do you think Reagan is? You've seen that face before. Think.
I got taxes I got to take care of here, Jules. I'm not dealing with this.
We come back because we're completely out of time. We're a fast show here. Because you're worthy of having on the show and talking to for at great length. Would you come back?
I'd love to come back.
This is wonderful, by the way. And tomorrow's guest, thank you, everybody, very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tomorrow's guests include Lainey Kazan, Steve Landisberg, who's a very funny man, Casey Kasem, and an R&B group called the Gap Band. Good night. See you tomorrow.